Hello, I'm Rishi Persad and welcome back to Racing Weekly, a podcast and YouTube show brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. We're looking ahead to the Dublin Racing Festival this weekend. Lots to talk about in the sport, and I've been joined by Steve Ryder as usual, and it's our pleasure to have Gary O'Brien over with a particular eye on what's coming up this weekend, Gary. But let's talk a little bit about what's just happened last weekend. Cheltenham, first of all, the news about Sergino. For his own well-being, it's more positive. For his career, we don't know. But also what happened at Cheltenham with the last race of the day, etc. It was quite a dramatic day. What was your main takeaway, first of all, from the day in terms of its relevance as a Cheltenham trial?
Relevance to Cheltenham, Rishi, I think maybe the Cotswold Chase and Spillane's Tower back to winning ways. I was kind of hoping he might put up a performance like that. It had been a slow burn for him so far this season, a couple of runs over hurdles, but more encouraging at Punchestown on New Year's Eve behind El Fabiolo. And I really liked what he did. It was a steadily run race, and fair enough, there's no guarantee that the form will stand up come March. But I think he's definitely thrown his hat back into the ring for the Gold Cup. And I would imagine Jack Kennedy riding him, maybe they had one eye on him riding him in the Gold Cup itself as well. Gordon Elliott looks a little bit light in that division at the moment.
All right. A little teaser about more to come on that particular race and that subject. What did you make of the incident involving the discovery of the hole, the delay, the investigation around it that allowed the race to continue, the fact that the race did continue, the photograph in the dark, the subsequent interview that Lydia did on Racing TV with John Pullen, and all the controversy that seemed to surround it? What was your take on whether Cheltenham did the right thing, whether the interview with John Pullen got exactly what we needed to hear from him and the team?
Yeah, I thought it was a very good interview. John fronted up, spoke very well. I actually didn't have a problem with it at the time as it was happening, Rishi, but I was kind of basing that on the assumption that the ground staff had combed over, in particular, that area very thoroughly just to make sure that there weren't any more potential trouble spots. And obviously you've got other ground staff further around the course that they had done likewise in whatever section of the track they were in. They were under pressure. I think just about all the trainers and jockeys that were involved wanted the race to go ahead. Difficult one to call at the time. As I say, personally, I didn't have a problem with it. They can now, obviously, that they have a bit more time before the festival, have a much more thorough look at the track. But fortunately, there was no issue with the race itself. I don't know whether I'd have an awful lot more to add. I think at the time, as I say, I was happy enough that it went ahead, given that they'd done all they can to check the rest of the track.
As per usual, it created quite a stir on social media. There was a fair split between whether or not Cheltenham did the right thing. Almost more conversation about whether Lydia's interview with John Pullen was fair. What did you make of it all, Steve?
I thought it was a brave decision by Cheltenham to run the race, if I'm being completely honest. But then listening to interviews afterwards and working out that they discovered the hole because you have ground staff that check around the racecourse after every race, then filled me with more confidence afterwards in the knowledge that it wasn't that a jockey had come back and reported a hole, it was the fact that the ground staff do actually investigate that between races. I didn't have a problem with Lydia's interview. I thought it was quite direct, but you also need to remember that the likes of her and Martin Dixon were there live on course, living it in that moment. I think you can have a difference of opinion after the event as opposed to being live on air trying to actually ascertain the information that we needed at the time.
Yeah, there's lots to talk about in that. The only point I would make is when Ben Pauling's quote saying, "I was exceptionally keen for the race to be run," I was uncomfortable with that line. I don't think that should ever be included in any discussion. I don't know, maybe he's just saying that, but the fact that he was part of the decision-making conversation, not that he was the decision-maker, I don't think that should ever come into whether a trainer wants to have a race run for their benefit should ever be part of a discussion. That's the only thing I'd put into it. Obviously, there's lots more that we could talk about it, but we have lots of good racing to reflect on and to look forward to. So let's get into it, and let's start with Racing Recap. And we'll start with the international hurdle from Cheltenham Trials Day, and of course, Sergino's injury, the New Lions win, where obviously he wasn't as impressive as I'm sure some people would have hoped him to have been. What did you make of the New Lions win, first of all?
Funny enough, Rishi, I I actually quite liked it. I took a much more positive view than a lot of other people seem to have done, simply because I thought Harry Skelton asked the horse a fair question. I mean, he didn't move on him until he jumped the final flight in a very steadily run race, and then asked him to overtake the other two on the flat, and he actually did it pretty comfortably in the end. He was able to ease down near the finish. It was really steadily run. I think the finishing speed percentage was 119 odd %, so that says it all. I know they're inferior horses, obviously, and you'd expect him to pick them up, but he was asked a question at the same time. If you go a very steady pace, that brings inferior horses more and more into the argument. So I thought he did pretty well to pick them up. He jumped well through the race as well, with Sergino obviously sustaining the injury, which clearly was really, really sad, especially given the backstory there. That obviously put it on a plate for him. But I definitely wouldn't knock what he did. I actually thought he maybe showed me a little bit more than he possibly had before.
Yeah, I tend to agree and take a positive view of the way that the new line has gone this season. I know obviously he fell at Newcastle, but there was elements of that and what he did on last Saturday that suggests to me he is a serious contender for the Champion Hurdle, not just has been shoehorned into that race.
Yeah, I thought he faced two question marks going into the race. One was his jumping and the second was his pace over 2 miles. And I think he passed the second one of those with flying colours. This did turn into a 3 furlong dash, didn't it? Like Gary said, 119% finishing speed percentage. So I think he definitely has that 2 mile speed. Jumping, I'm still not quite there with. I know afterwards they said around, we'd like to teach him how to get into hurdles. Well, I don't really want you to do that in a champion hurdle. And I thought Harry Skelton was in a bit of a panic approaching the last, trying to see a stride. And I think he'll be seen better in a fast run champion hurdle. For their sake, I think they probably want Brighter Days Ahead to do something pretty good this weekend in order to have King and Kingsfield in as a pacemaker. And I think that will probably aid him, because we saw him to his best in the Turners last year when settled in the rear in a relatively strongly run race. And yeah, I wouldn't discount him, but I think the bookmakers probably did the right thing in keeping him around the same sort of price for the Champion Hurdle.
All right. Obviously this weekend there's a very big race coming up in Ireland that will certainly help clarify, but it will make it particularly clear who's going to go for the Champion Hurdle and who's not, with Lossiemouth and Brighter Days Ahead. But at this stage, the Champion Hurdle market is as follows. Lossiemouth with Bet365, the 2-1 favourite. The new line 11-4. Constitution Hill 6-1. Brighter Days Ahead 7s. The defending champ Golden Ace 8s. Amsterdam 10s. 20s bar those, and that includes El Fabiolo, who I've seen a few people suggesting might be a realistic contender for the race. If you had to choose from that list now, Gary, without the race this weekend to help in the deliberations, where would you go?
I'd probably go for the new line, Rishi, to be honest. A, because he's being aimed at the race. There's no guarantee Lossiemouth is going to turn up, or Brighter Days Ahead.
That's such an important factor now,
exactly.
Though, isn't it? Yeah.
As you say, this weekend is hopefully going to clarify a lot of things on that score. But you know he's definitely being aimed at the race. He showed, to me, as I say, something that he hadn't necessarily shown before the other day with that turn of foot after the final flight. I don't know whether I'd necessarily back him at the current price, but if you put my neck on the block at the moment, he's probably the one I would go with.
Steve, you?
It's been 18 months. I'm still back in Lossiemouth for Champion Hurdles. Yeah, I just think that race will bring the best out of her. I think she can be a 4-time Cheltenham Festival winner, and hopefully this time in the Champion Hurdle rather than the Mares.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice to see her properly tested. Okay, that's a brief look at the Champion Hurdle picture. Let's focus on the Gold Cup and the Cotswold Chase and whether or not it was a realistic pointer to the Gold Cup. You mentioned Spillane's Tower at the top of the show. Obviously, L'Imprese finished just behind him. Grey Dawning, very much a prep race in the way he was ridden, and then obviously he made that mistake. I'll start with you here, Steve. Is Spillane's Tower at 14-1, I think he is, with Bet365 for the Gold Cup? Is he a realistic Gold Cup contender now?
I don't think so. I did fancy him for this race. I liked the performance, but I do think he still has about a stone to find with the main Gold Cup contenders. Again, kind of the same on the day. It was a slowly run race, finishing speed percentage of 114%. And in truth, that's probably as fast as L'Imprese could go these days. If you looked at the way they lined up, Florent Porter was clearly there to qualify for a Grand National. A proven front runner is then held up last of 4. The way that Grey Dawning was ridden, you knew that that was a prep race. I suppose if you back Grey Dawning, he made a mistake at the second last, and then Harry Skelton looked after him. He did the same a couple of years before winning the old 2.5 mile Grade 1 when he reversed form with Ginny's Destiny. But yeah, Spillane's Tower, I did like the performance. You also need to bear in mind, I think it was £6 that he was receiving from L'Empresse. So yes, he was dominant at the finish, but he was receiving weight, and it's whether you see it as a coming-of-age performance of Spillane's Tower or whether you see it as a poor race, and sadly I think I'd kind of be in the latter.
If you look at it with very cold eyes, you think, okay, L'Empresse, he's a much older horse, he hasn't had that much racing. Grey Dawning made that horrid mistake and he was ridden very much like a prep. Florian Porter obviously never even got into it. So what did you think Spillane's Tower achieved in winning the race?
Maybe on the figures, not an awful lot, Rishi, but I just like the way the horse has progressed this season. And to me, watching the race, I fancied him to win on Saturday night, after timing maybe or whatever, but I did genuinely, I promise, and I can back that up with a few people, but I thought he was ridden to pick up the horse in front and maybe just win, do the bare minimum and still win. Yeah. And I just, as I say, I like the way he's been brought along this season, Rishi. The inauspicious start first time out when he was favourite for a handicap hurdle, better last time out, and then another step up on this again. Absolutely agree with Steve that he does need to make another jump to be a proper Gold Cup contender, but I think it's very, very conceivable that he could do that. And last season, I know the way you're thinking, the campaign he had, he was brought along kind of in similar fashion, run to run to run. He's going to be going to the Gold Cup, and I presume he's going to run, because I think it'd be mad not to run him on the back of that after winning one of the recognised trials especially. But I think he's going to be going there with his tail up, confidence high. He's jumped around the track as well. I think he's got a lot going for him. Yeah, I think he's a player.
Okay. Gold Cup picture sees Galopin des Champs as the 11-2 favourite with Bet365. I know the way you're thinking. 6-1 Django Bay 7s, Jukebox Man 7s, Gaelic Warrior 8s, Hater-Kalor 14s with Spillane's Tower, Affadale Fury 16s, Grey Dawning 20s and 25s bar those. Do you have a play now, or are you going to wait for what comes this weekend?
I'm of the opinion that I still think Galopin des Champs is the one to beat in the division, and if you are thinking that Galopin des Champs is going to win the Gold Cup, I think you need to back him before the weekend, because I am in a minority, but I think he's a better horse at Leopardstown than what he is at Cheltenham. So I think after he wins at the weekend, he'll be half that price.
And that's the preview for...
That's confidence.
Yeah. What about you, Gary?
I actually still think there's mileage in Spillane's Tower's price at 14, 16 to 1. I don't think it'll be that on the day if he gets there. And who knows if one or two of the big contenders fluff their lines this weekend, or maybe a little bit further down the line, that price could contract as well. So look, basically all he has to do now is get there, whereas some of the others have to go and strut their stuff.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, we'll talk more about some of these horses later on, but you think Galopin des Champs, I know the way you're thinking, Hater-Kalor, Affadale Fury, all set to run this weekend. Right, that's the Cotswold Chase. The Cleve Hurdle went the way of Marchantou. Now, I remember interviewing Emma Lavelle at the start of the season when he won his first race at Cheltenham, and it caught a few people by surprise. He was well backed on the day, and she said, I'm not surprised he won like that, because I think he's a good horse. Then they had the wind taken out of their sails a bit with what happened in his next start. But since that, this win makes him look like a serious stayers hurdle horse, ?
I think you have to view him as a contender this year. Maybe the race did fall apart a little bit at the weekend, but the Yard obviously know what it takes when they have a stayers hurdle horse. They've produced the goods in the past with Paisley Park, so that gives them a handle, obviously, as far as what Marchantou is going to, the sort of level he's going to need to get to. It's still hard to believe what happened that day at Haydock. I suppose every horse is entitled to an off day, but take that out, it's been a really, really good campaign for him. He looked the winner most of the way around, didn't he, on Saturday? I thought beforehand I was fancying Imposed Trois to do what he'd done on his two previous starts, but Marchantou won really well. I wouldn't write off Imposed Trois at the same time. A few people have kind of suggested that might be the end of his claims. I don't know, did he really maybe run to 100% what he's capable of on the day? But I'd definitely be taking Marchantou seriously on the back of it. Yeah,
and of course, Imposed Trois gave weight to Marchantou on Saturday. And for what it's worth, at the moment, in the market for the stayers hurdle, Bet365, Marchantou's 8-1, Imposed Trois 10s behind the 13-8 favourite Teahupoo. How did you read Saturday's race?
I was impressed with the performance. I'll be honest, I was expecting a double figure price afterwards, though. I think single figures is quite short, and I think you will get double figures nearer the time, if I'm being completely honest. The positives for him is he has a very similar profile to Paisley Park, didn't he? Midfield and Albert Bartlett, progressing through handicaps. And the fact that his 3 wins this season have all come at Cheltenham, you know that he's going to run his race. But he's up £10 to 154 today by the handicapper, and that does go to show the step that he still has to make in order to go to the Stayers Hurdle. The performance and the result slightly raises doubts for me around the form of that Ascot race for Honesty Policy. I know a lot of people fancied him to reverse the form with Impostoir and Strong Leader in a Stayers Hurdle, but if you look at that, Doddy the Great was beaten a similar sort of lengths as well, and Honesty Policy, I'd slightly have doubts now around the prices there for a horse who's inexperienced coming into the division, and a lot of people are just putting that on the fact that that was his reappearance run and he might reverse that form. But yeah, I'd be slightly negative on him now, given that.
Well, he's second favourite, Honesty Policy, at 4-1. Obviously, Bob is third in the market at 7s and has been the subject of some positive tipping, or a few people being positive about him in their tipping columns. Do you have a fancy for the Stayers Hurdle at this stage, Gary?
Just scanning down through the prices, Rishi, I don't think anything really stands out at this stage. Tupu's a rock-solid horse. You'd imagine he's going to be very, very tough to beat again this year. I did like the run of Honesty Policy at Ascot. I suppose it was as much to do with the ride. He wasn't obviously knocked about on the day. He seemed to finish with running left. So you'd imagine there's a bit more in him. But looking down through the prices, is anything striking you maybe as bigger than it should be? I don't think it really is amongst those top 5.
I mean, if Cabral de Matan turned up in the race, I don't think he'd be a 25-1 shot, but I don't know what they're going to do with him. But yeah, it's sit tight for the moment. The Triumph Trial, which took place on the weekend, saw Maestro Conti retain his unbeaten record. He beat One Horse Town and Manila Yoga. Do you feel that he is a serious contender for the Triumph itself, and how serious?
Yeah, he's a contender. It was fought out by the 3 main market protagonists, I suppose. You have to bear in mind the weights they were carrying. One Horse Town carrying 11.5, Maestro Conti 11.3, and Manila Yoga 11.0. I thought it was a good performance, but it's whether you believe the performance of One Horse Town was the same as the horse that we've previously seen. Because if you do, then Manila Study is too big of a price based on distances that they were beaten that day. I thought, as much as it was a good ride by Harry Skelton, settling a horse who was obviously keen and learning in the early stages, I thought it was a poor ride in the same equal measure from Paul O'Brien. I think you've got to get to the rail there, especially on the new course. They did the same at the November meeting, and Precious Man had to switch out and couldn't go past. And yeah, I think if he had that ride again, Paul O'Brien would want to get to the rail rather than allowing Harry Skelton up his inside. But yeah, all this performance did for me was think that Manila Study could well be overpriced if he was to win again at the weekend, which I think is running the Bet365 sponsored card at Musselburgh.
It was more of a boost for Manila Study and Winston Jr. Obviously, finished ahead of One Horse Town, so I was encouraged by that because I like those 2 horses. For the Triumph Hurdle, Gary, Narciso Has and Proactive at the top of the market. 7-2, Narciso Has with Bet365, Proactive 6s, Maestro Conti 8s, Marge 2 8s. Do you feel that if Maestro Conti is the shortest price of the Brits, do you feel that this is a potential winner, or do you think you've got better in Ireland?
I'd say he is a potential winner, to be honest. I thought he actually might be a bit shorter after the weekend than he is at the moment, but I think the feeling is that they are a decent crop of Irish juveniles this weekend. Will obviously clarify the picture as far as that's concerned as well, with a few of the market leaders running there. But yeah, I took a positive view of what Maestro Conti did. He beat the right horses. Again, it was a confident ride. Cleared away nicely on the run in, so he's ticked a few boxes there. Obviously the course as well on Saturday, the Triumph course. So I actually liked the performance, and I think just vis-a-vis Machantou, we've just been talking about, I think he's a fairer price maybe on the back of what he did than Machantou.
That's a fair call. Okay, so those are some of the main races from the weekend at Cheltenham. Obviously lots of other racing that you could talk about. I'll open the floor up to you, Gary. Was there anything else that really caught your eye over the weekend?
Well, from an Irish perspective, great double for Paul Nolan up at Doncaster, wasn't it? Good bit of target training there.
That was his first ever runner?
I think they might have been, the two of them. Yeah, The Devil You Know and Feet of a Dancer is a really, really admirable mare. The Devil You Know has form, obviously, that ties in with a lot of the top Irish novices, and I think Paul admitted himself that it was a case of maybe trying to stay away from one or two of those that worked out a treat. And step up to 3 miles really suited him. He looks well worth his place in the Albert Bartlett, and who knows, he might be able to get into the mix there as well. And I wouldn't rule out Feet of a Dancer if they took their chance in the stayers with her running into a place as well. Ran a blinder in the Pertemps last year. We've seen Machan 2 improve via handicaps as well.
Yeah.
Obviously other horses have done it in the past too. She was probably given a bit too much to do that day as well, but she seems in a really good place at the moment. And yeah, I'd give her a decent shout of maybe getting into a place in the stayers if they do roll the dice.
Okay, a couple of names to mention, The Devil You Know and Feet of a Dancer. What about you, Steve, from the weekend?
I like Jordan's Cross, won the Time for Novices handicap chase. That's always a race that works out well if you look through. I think the last 7 winners of that race, there's been 4 winners from the Cheltenham Festival and 3 seconds, I think. So it's got an unbelievable record with horses going forward towards the Cheltenham Festival. He's up £6 to 140 and it's 12 to 1 for the Jack Richards. I thought he was probably one that would, on the preview circuit, I think they're obvious things to be able to highlight, and I thought he may well be shorter than 12 to 1 for the Jack Richards come the day. We had Donica obviously beating Jaguar by a head. I mean, what's next for Jaguar, Rish? I mean, obviously you're one of his biggest fans. I mean, he's up 3 to 152. You've obviously got the option of the Plate, the Ultima, the Ryanair. For him, I thought logically, you'll go back to the Plate, but obviously that's one of the races that's changed course, isn't it? And I thought
it wouldn't suit. I don't think the course would suit him.
Neither do I. So do you go up to 3 miles for the Ultima, or
but then Iroquo's
is a strongly run Ryanair? Would you give him a chance in that, or is I don't know. I don't know what you do with him.
So I was kind of thinking he'd win a couple of handicaps this season. I mean, really, he should have done.
Yeah.
I still can't believe he got beaten on the weekend. I mean, he was travelling so well. I don't know whether, as they crossed the line, I was thinking, whose fault's this? The jockeys or the horses? Because how did he get beat? But I couldn't make my mind up.
Apart from the few sticky jumps, which is kind of par for the course for him now, if you add all those up, maybe in the final reckoning, they might have proved costly. But whereas the previous run, I thought was definitely one that got away. I don't know whether I'd want to make any excuse for him on Saturday, to be honest. And you guys have been talking about it there. Obviously, in terms of potential targets, the owner has got so many horses. Ryanair, you're talking about Factophile.
John Bond, maybe.
John Bond, obviously, potentially in there as well. Yeah. Steve mentioned Iroko there, so there's kind of other pieces to move around the chessboard. So if you were an anti-post punter, I think you'd be sitting tight with this guy for the moment.
Okay. It was also nice to see Argento Boy winning. Really game performance. He seems to be finding his métier over fences, so that was nice to see him winning again.
He'd be a contender for the National Hunt Chase, wouldn't he? I saw he got an Irish mark of 144, so it depends what sort of Irish tax you get on that, because he could well be. Obviously, that now has a ceiling of 145, doesn't it? So he could well be out of that race.
Okay. So I think we'll close it off for this week's racing recap. Now, before we get into our Dublin Racing Festival preview, just to let you know that our sponsor, Bet365, have a best odds guaranteed offer. It's available on every single UK and Irish race from 8 a.m. on the day of the race. If you take a price and the SP is bigger, Bet365 will pay you at the bigger odds. Full T's and C's can be found on the website. In the next couple of weeks, we will give you details of what's our Cheltenham Festival preview plans. Steve is busily completing the final negotiations with all and sundry. But of course, some of the horses we're going to see in the Dublin Racing Festival will be talked about at the Cheltenham Festival preview. Let's talk about the opening novice hurdle, 2 3/4 miles. It's a race that Willie Mullins has dominated, as we know. What do you feel he might run? Is it Dr. Steinberg? Is that the one?
He looks to be the one, Rishi, yeah. And he was a horse, no disrespect to him, I'd say was on absolutely nobody's radar at the start of the season as a Grade 1 performer, but he's done just about everything right. Won his maiden in good style at Galway and then upped his game when he was raised to Grade 2 class at Navan last time in the form. Obviously he's been boosted by the Devil You Know as well, just the other day at Doncaster, so it's topical form as well. He looks as though he's going to be the Mullins number 1 here. No disrespect again, it does look one of the weaker Grade 1s of the weekend. I'd love if the horse of Toby Laws was sent over Klimt Madrick. I don't know whether there is any chance of that, but to me, it would be well worth bringing him over. I thought he ran very well, albeit no match for Paul Nicholls' horse at Newbury, and he might have a fair bit less on his plate here if he were to come across.
Okay, 20 to 1. with Bet365 for that Nathaniel Lacey and Partners Solicitors Novice Hurdle. Dr. Steinberg, the 5-4 favourite. Do you see an alternative?
I didn't, to be honest. I went through the rest trying to find an alternative, like Gary, and then you look at like Tackle Tommy Woo Woo and was beaten in a handicap hurdle of 110 only in September. And yes, I was obviously progressed and won next couple of starts and is now rated 134. But yeah, I went through trying to oppose the favourite and went a full circle and ended up looking at it. And actually, I thought Dr. Steinberg, given that form boost at the weekend, might actually be odds on the day.
I did like the way You Proof travelled through the race after a year off, but whether capable of beating Dr. Steinberg after second start or the bounce, etc.
Yeah, I'd say there's a good chance Willie will run a fair few in this as well, Rishi, because there's not much depth there and there's a decent chance to mop up some good prize money. It's not always the first string that comes out on top. I mean, as I say, Dr. Steinberg is a horse who's surprised people so far this season, and You Prove is a horse who could easily step up as well.
Yeah, I did go back through it. 2022, Manila Kakuna won at 11-1, was second string. Dancing City, 2024, won at 16-1. So like you said, Willie will run 3 or 4 in it, I imagine.
Okay. We can have similar discussions about who he may or may not run when we talk about the juvenile hurdle. But Narciso Haas is the 4-6 favourite. Marche 2, 5-2. Selma Davari is 8 and Proactive 10s, 12s, bar those. I'll start with you here. The top 2 in the market. Marche 2 beat Narciso Haas fairly convincingly when they last met. But of course, Narciso Haas came out and won after that.
Yeah, Marche 2 had the benefit of race fitness when they met that time. It was at a time of the year when Willie Mullins' horses were generally coming on for their run as well. And I thought he was really good in the Grade 2 there last time. If you look at kind of the pace of the race, he was the only horse that was ridden up with a pace that day that actually stayed there, and he ended up winning in really impressive fashion. If you look, Kasper Hauser, I think, was the other horse at the front, ended up pulling up. The other 2 fancied horses that day, Barbazon and Ben-Hur, finished 4th and 5th, beaten over 10 lengths, but Narciso Haas just kept going. I thought he was a real stayer of the future. I think with Cheltenham prospects going forward, I think he'll relish the new course and the stamina test that will come on there. I'm not in a massive rush to back him at odds on for this. If you look back at it, there's actually been no winning favourite for the last 4 years. That's been Lossiemouth, Stormheart and St. Lucie have all been beaten in it, which should be a slight concern. But obviously, this race is obviously the best pointer towards the Triumph Hurdle. And if I'm being honest, I think the track at Cheltenham will really suit Narciso Haas. So I'd prefer to back him at current odds for the Triumph Hurdle rather than at odds on for this.
Gary, what was your take on Marche 2 beating Narciso Haas last time out? Did you put that down entirely to the fact that she had race fitness on her side? But she also had the headgear on, and I felt she travelled like a different horse, like a better horse, and she moved through the race really easily, and she's got more speed maybe than he does. Steve mentions about the way he was ridden when he won last time, sort of grinding away in front. I think if it came to a speed test, she's got more juice.
She probably is more in that mould, all right, but for what it's worth, I did come away from Verrières that day thinking that if they met again, I'd want to be with Narciso Haas, and the fact that he's gone to Leopardstown and built on that as well, I think no reason to change my mind at this stage, Rishi. I do like the mare. I mean, she's talented, and I'd hope to see a better run out of Barbazon if he takes his chance as well. I thought he'd run better at Christmas time, but I think he might have choked possibly in the race. I think they've tinkered with his win since then, so hopefully he'll be able to show more of his true colours. He was a horse I liked on the flat as well in a brief career on the level, but Narciso Haas is the standout horse. If Willie runs the mare down at the bottom, Selma Davari, she'd be an interesting candidate, given that we don't obviously know as much about her, but difficult to look beyond the favourite for all he's skinny enough.
Okay, Barbazon 16-1 at the moment. Next race we'll talk about at the Dublin Racing Festival could be a cracker. It's the Irish Arkle. Kopek de Board 5-4 favourite, Romeo Coolio 6-4, Cargesi 5-2, Irish Panther 5-1, and then 33-1 bar the top 4. Is it a 2-horse race? And if it is between Kopek de Board and Romeo Coolio, whose side are you on?
I don't necessarily think it's a 2-horse race, Rishi. I'd throw Cargesi into the mix as well. She's a talented mare, but I just have in the back of my mind, I think she might have been slightly flattered by the winning margin last time out against a horse who I'd imagine will be going the handicap route in due course. You would imagine Kopek de Board, provided he gets here and Romeo Coolio, are going to dominate the market, and that's perfectly understandable. I mean, they're two really, really high-profile horses. Conditions are right for Romeo Coolio, but Kopek de Board's not going to have any trouble with them either. Just the one worry you have, obviously, with Kopek de Board is that it doesn't sound like it's been an ideal preparation. And I would imagine, even if he's not quite fully tuned up, he'll probably run anyway, because there's no race left for him now between now and March either. And I don't think you ideally want to be going to the Arkle at Cheltenham just on the back of one run. So he could possibly be vulnerable to Romeo Coolio at the weekend. So just bearing in mind the preparation they've had, the fact that Romeo Coolio's put together a really impressive CV over fences, he's won well over the course and distance as well. I think he'd probably be the percentage call if they all turn up, Rishi, but it's a race. It could be one of the races of the weekend. Very much looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, same here. What about you, Steve? What do you like here?
Yeah, I do think Cargese would be in with a shout, and I imagine they'd run both of them as well. She's often kind of in as a second string. It's worth remembering last year she got beaten on her reappearance before stepping forward markedly, and she's done again the same this year, and she's only rated £6 lower than Kopek de Board on the figures and gets £7 from Kopek de Board, so she's not massively out of it. But I agree with Gary. I've loved Romeo Coolio so far this season. Fences have really made him, and I think the jumping is the huge asset, and obviously they jump more fences than they do around courses, both in Ireland and in the UK. And I thought it was a good performance last time. A lot of people have crabbed the fact that he only just beat Irish Panther, but they did pull 12 lengths clear of July Flower, who'd done really well so far in the season as well. And yeah, I thought the fact that it's not stopping raining in Ireland is going to suit Romeo Coolio and bring his stamina into play. And yeah, I thought he'd probably win this.
Well, we have been criticised on this show in the past, Gary, I should let you know, for using too much information. But this is one of those examples, I think, where if you use the race IQ data and you go through the race, you can get a different perspective on what your eyes have seen. So watching the race on the day, as a Romeo Coolio fan, when he won at Christmas time, I was thinking, oh, he's only scrambling to beat Irish Panther. And I wanted him to thump him because I love Romeo Coolio. I was thinking, actually, I'd like to see him in the Arkle because I think he's going to run in the Arkle and then go up in trip in time and become a Gold Cup horse. That's the way
that's what I think as well.
So I look back at it again. Now, the top 5 horses in that race at Leopardstown all finished with a finishing speed percentage of over 100%. So for Romeo Coolio, who is seen as a horse with more stamina, to have gone in behind the front two as they turn for home, have to switch out wide and then go and pick up Irish Panther was a pretty strong effort. He clocked the highest speed in the race as well on the day. And in terms of his highest speed of all time, or watching in Grade 1 races, he's only a fraction. He's 0.16 behind Kopek de Board's fastest speed. So in terms of speed, there's not much deficiency there, and he can maintain it for quite a while, as he showed when he won last time out. So I actually think he's got more speed than he's getting credit for. And clearly the ground, as you both alluded to, suits him. I would fancy him against Kopek de Board, even if Kopek de Board had come here without all the doubt surrounding him. So I'm hoping that he wins, and he wins well. I think Irish Panther is also a much improved horse over fences. I mean, that's pretty
He
obvious.
does seem to be, in fairness. I mean, hand on heart, I think Kopek de Board possibly might be the slightly more talented horse, but I think when you factor in the preparation and the body of work that Romeo Coolio has put together over fences so far, they're the same sort of price at the moment. I think Romeo Coolio probably deserves to be favourite on Saturday, doesn't he?
The sensible option suggests that would be the case for this particular race. So, yeah, I hope he wins as well. Okay, that's the Irish Arkle, which, as Gary says, with those two lining up, could be a terrific race. But don't forget Cargese and Irish Panther, who are clearly very talented as well. The Irish Gold Cup, what a race this could be. It's so good to see a race pre-Cheltenham this good with all these Gold Cup horses running in it. And the market leader, unsurprisingly, is the king of Leopardstown, even though he got beaten there last time out. It's Galopin de Champs. Even money favourite. Affidel Fury 11-2. I Know the Way You're Thinking 6-1. Haiti Kalor, great to see him there. 7s, 8s. Factifar, I'm not sure he's going to run, is he? Factifar.
Talk that he might run, actually, Rishi, yeah.
Spindleberry 8s, and then I Maximus 12s, 16s, bar those. What are you going to start? I think it's the Galopin story here. You're just going to rinse and repeat from earlier?
Yeah, I think the softer ground than what he faced at Christmas, the fact that he's had that reappearance run. Obviously, we're used to Galopin getting beaten in the John Durkan winning the Savills, then coming to this. And the fact that they had to miss the John Durkan and come straight to the Savills. And the way that he was ridden, I think, was probably in the mind of, okay, this is going to be a stepping stone towards the Irish Gold Cup, because I always think Galopan's best when he's ridden aggressively and dominating fields from the front. And Paul Townend seemed fairly content to allow Sam Ewing on Affordale Fury to be in front of him. And yeah, I thought that will step forward completely to this. This race last year was probably the best atmosphere I've ever had on a race course. It was unbelievable. And yeah, I can't wait to see it again, hopefully.
If he were to win on Saturday, it would probably be up there with it. I mean...
And Willie Mullins loves winning these races. It's not... A lot of people think Cheltenham's the be-all and end-all, but he always, when he wins these races, says, no.
Rightly so, as well.
I want to win the Irish Gold Cup, the way that Paul Townend celebrated last year when he won this race. He's going to be spot on for this. I don't think Affordale Fury will get away again with jumping so far right-handed. Yeah. Haiti Kalor, yes, he's been really good in handicaps, but his one start in the Betfair Chase at Grade 1 Company would be a slight worry for him, and I don't think he'll be able to dominate in this field. Factifile, and I know where you're thinking, these will probably be stepping stones towards the Cheltenham Festival. I thought Spindleberry might actually be the biggest threat to Galopin Des Champs, if I'm being honest. From what we hear, the owner wants to run in the Gold Cup, and I think Willie Mullins has kind of said here, OK, go on then, prove you're up to that level, and we'll see if we're going to go the Gold Cup or the Mare's Chase route. And she proved last time going to Doncaster that she can go left-handed, which was the doubt coming into that race. And I thought she's probably the biggest danger to Galopin.
OK. I'm the biggest Courtauld Star fan in the world, but even I am emotional about Galopin Des Champs, because if he's to win the Irish Gold Cup, that in itself would be something else. You know, he would equal the great Florida Pearl's 4 wins in the race. In fairness, Florida Pearl did it with a break in between the first 3 and then the 4th, and as Galopin would win 4 in a row. He is just the most mighty modern-day chaser. I hope we appreciate him whilst we still have him. I would like him to win because of sentiment, but will he?
He's the right favourite, Rishi. He wouldn't be a bet for me, maybe, at the sort of price he is. I just think maybe obviously it'll depend what turns up on the day, but looking at the 5-day, if you have the likes of Haiti Kalur, if you have Factifile, I know the way you're thinking for all that he's been a shadow of the horse that won the Gold Cup in the 2 runs so far this season. Affordale Fury, Spindleberry. You've got a few new kids on the block there, as well as old rivals like Fast or Slow to test him as well. And I just wonder this time around, particularly with Haiti Kalur and Affordale Fury in there, will he be allowed to get away and dominate the race as we've seen him done so many times here at Leopardstown in the past? So look, he's the most likely winner to me, but I just have a slight query whether he's going to have things all his own way on Saturday. And obviously, at the age of 10, he's not going to be getting any better at this stage. There are some younger rivals coming along. I'd love to see him win it again too. I mean, it's some of the best days we've had at Leopardstown in recent years. It was kind of a throwback to the Hurricane Fly days, the kind of atmosphere he's been generating with his wins at Leopardstown, where he's a bit of a legend, and obviously his exploits elsewhere, absolutely top class. So look, it goes against the grain to go against him. I'd be very interested to see how they ride Factifile if he does run. Will it just be a kind of a confidence booster ahead of the Ryanair at Cheltenham, having to finish in the top 4? If they really were positive on him and put him into the race, I think he'd be a massive player. I just don't think we saw the best of him at all at Kempton in a messy sort of race. So there's a few kind of variables, imponderables there, Rishi. I don't know whether I'll have a bet in the race at this point. I'm not tempted to maybe have a closer look on the day, but the heart says Galopin. I just think it's going to be a little bit tougher for him maybe than it has been in the last couple of years.
Only 2 horses aged 10 or older in the last 20 years have won the Irish Gold Cup. So it's not on, again, you know, stats.
He's not your average 10-year-old.
But exactly. He's not your average 10-year-old. I remember when I was growing up watching Desert Orchid win his 4th King George, and I remember Graham Good commentating it and going, "This is his race." You know, I'm expecting Jerry to say that on Saturday when Galopin comes home in front, leading them all a merry dance, saying, "This is his race." We pass that on to Jerry.
It's definitely his track. It's definitely his track. I think Jerry will have something prepared anyway.
No doubt. The 2 Mile 5 Novice Chase is the next race we'll look at. Obviously, Final Demand is the very short price favourite with Bet365, 5-2 on. Big Westerner 15-2, Gay Doughty 8-1. Obviously, Roma Coolio's in there. Kitzbühel's in there, but also in at is Kitzbühel in?
Yeah, in the City
Sandown as
Arsenal.
well, yeah. 8-1. Western Fold 10s, Jimmy DeSoy 16s, 20s bar those. Any point in taking on Final Demand? Were you impressed with Final Demand's last win?
I didn't mind it, to be honest. I just don't think the way the race shaped up on the day, we probably saw the best of him, Rishi, and Patrick Mullins. I heard him speaking about it afterwards. He seemed to back up that view. He jumped really well again. That was kind of the hallmark of his win at Navan. He was so sure-footed. I wouldn't judge him too harshly on what happened in Limerick. I think we'll probably see more like the real horse, what he's capable of on Sunday. And to be honest, this could easily cut up very badly.
Yeah.
There was 19 in it before the 5-day declarations. I wouldn't be shocked if we had 4 or 5 runners here. Right. Kitzbühel could go to Kempton. It might just be maybe the favourite and a couple of stable companions, and maybe Gordon Elliott will run a couple maybe as well, something like that. But there's not much depth to the race, and I'd be surprised if it's not a lap of honour for him, to be honest.
All right. Exhibition stuff for Final Demand?
Yeah, it was really impressive at the meeting last year, wasn't it? That was really his coming-of-age performance. The only defeat he's had was in the Turners behind the New Line and the Yellow Clay. And I want to put that down to the fact that it was kind of a speed test, but the fact that Yellow Clay finished in front of him, that would be one thing kind of going towards Cheltenham at a short price that you would have in the back of your mind. But I've loved him over fences. I think you could ride him blindfolded. He's just so clever at his fences. And yeah, I do expect him to win this. Danger for me would be Western Fold if he runs. I think it's quite interesting. Not your normal novice chaser with that profile. He was beaten on his first 5 chase starts last season, but since then beat Oscar's brother in a beginner's chase, won a listed handicap chase at Ballon Road, won a Galway plate, and then beat Affordale Fury on his next start. Yes, he finished 3rd behind him and Envoy Allen last time, but that's proper form for a novice chaser that's a double-figure price in a field that could cut up. I think he's rated 157, which is only a pound below what Final Demand was rated over hurdles. And yeah, I thought at 10-1, I thought he'd probably be the one with Kitzbühel likely to head to Sandown, I would imagine, to split the two up. I thought he was probably the each-way play.
The Big Westerner would be the one who, if she was allowed to take a chance, she obviously would have a great chance of getting in there. Might be the one to give him most to do, but Henry de Bromhead tends to keep his powder dry with a lot of his horses, maybe waiting for Cheltenham, so I'd imagine that's probably what she'll do.
Okay. Next up, we'll talk about the Tattersalls Island Novice Hurdle. 2 miles, obviously, the distance, and Talk the Talk. This is one of the races on Sunday at the DRF. Talk the Talk is the 11-8 favourite. King Rasco Grey 3-1, Ballyfad 9-2. The Reverend Sixes, Skylight Hustle, who took advantage of the fall, 8-1. Blake 14s, along with Le Divan Enfant and Sober. Talk the Talk looked like he was about to stamp his authority on the division in Ireland with that win, or before he fell, it looked like he was going to win. Yeah,
it's been talked up by Joseph O'Brien since. An exciting novice hurdler. I thought he would have beaten Scarlet Hustle that day as well, and I do think he's probably a worthy favourite here. I think you've always got to look what Willie Mullins is going to run in this. He's won it for the last 7 years in a row. King Rasco Grey is the one that's come in for a bit of support, and I can see it. It's not got your normal profile, was beaten in 2 bumpers last season, but was good. Limerick winning over Christmas, beat Shuttle Diplomacy by nearly 3 lengths that day. That form was obviously boosted since. The runner-up then won by 4 1/4 lengths on Sunday. So I can see that. Willie Mullins also looks set to run the Reverend as well. I'd be less keen on him. I wasn't completely in love with his jumping that day. Obviously, it was a high-class flat horse. Barry Connell's talked about supplementing each to their own for this, following his win in a handicap last time. I mean, he's gone up £13 to 137, but the fact that he's looking at supplementing for this Grade 1 says that about him. I liked Ballyfad. I liked what he did around Christmas as well. Beat Leader Dallier by 9.5 lengths at Christmas. That was boosted by the runner-up winning by 9 lengths yesterday. I think this is one of the strongest Grade 1s of the whole festival. Yeah. I think you've got 5-6 contenders there who you can really make a case for. I can see Talk the Talk. The fact that he would have won a Grade 1 coming into this, and it is over the course, I think I'd probably just go for him, but that's probably an obvious thing to say at the price.
I watched the fall again last night, and actually, I mean, if anything, he just overjumped. He
Jumped
jumped
it too
so
big,
well,
yeah.
didn't he?
That was it, wasn't it? Just came down a little bit steeply. He was going to be put up a hell of a performance on the day. Like Steve, I think he would have won. Like you, obviously, as well, Rishi, I think he would have won that day. So he's a worthy favourite here. It's just, obviously, the potential of the maiden winners. Your King Rascal Grey, Steve's hit the nail on the head there. That form looks red hot. The race he won at Limerick. Maybe he's just come back a better horse after the summer off, King Rascal Grey. I really like what Ballyfad did. He's a horse who surely is going to come into his own going a bit further in time, but when you can win a 2 mile maiden hurdle by as far as he did last time, fully understand why they're going to roll the dice with him here. If you wanted one at a bigger price, who I think will run well, Blake, who was second in the Royal Bond, I thought he was a little bit unlucky not to win that day. I kind of fancied him there on the back of what he did at Down Royal previously. He was a good horse in the flat over here for Peter Chapelheim, I think it was. He's a kind of solid horse who's already proven at graded level. I think he's got a good chance of reaching the frame. You just wonder whether he'd be vulnerable to maybe one or two of those that we've been speaking about at the top of the market there. But I think he'll run well.
Okay, well, appropriate enough, having spoken about talk the talk, we're going to talk about the Dublin Chase because Barry Connell has been talking the talk about his horse, who, in fairness to him, has walked the walk more times than he's had to. But, what did you think about what Barry Connell had to say? Disparaging, really, about some of the other horses that could be in the same category as Marine Nationale. And let's then move on to talk about Marine Nationale as favourite for the Dublin Chase.
Well, it's obviously great for the likes of us, Rishi, because it kind of stirs things up, doesn't it, and gets people talking. I don't mind it, to be honest. You know, fair enough if you're connected with John Bon or something like that. He wasn't too complimentary about him. Yeah. Maybe you mightn't view it too kindly. But, yeah, you said it. He's got the top dog in the division, the reigning champ. He's got to go out and prove it, particularly after what Barry said, as you were saying there, Rishi, at the weekend. But it was a hell of a run at Christmas. I mean, I don't know. I read some of the comments after it and went through some of the data. I mean, he lost a hell of a lot of ground, and whatever way you slice it, he had to make up the ground. Fair enough, yeah, maybe it wasn't the hardest part of the race that he had to make it up in, but I don't have any doubt he would have won but for that. It wasn't a huge error. He just seemed to just take off a little bit too early at the fence, and Sean Flanagan obviously got unbalanced and did well ultimately to stay on board with a little bit of help from Keith Donoghue. So, look, he's a worthy favourite again. The one thing is, I do think Majborough is in the same league ability-wise. He's one of the most talented horses in training, Majborough, but I don't know. I think I'm kind of on the edge of viewing him as a bit of an enigma now at this stage. He just, for me, he looks like he's not concentrating at times in his races. I wouldn't, if he was mine, I'd be tempted to put headgear on him, to be honest. And obviously his jumping technique, there's always the possibility of a crucial error there, but just, I can't get out of my head how close he went to winning the Arkle at Cheltenham after those two shocking errors in the latter part of the race. That just, to me, speaks volumes about the level of ability he has. So if he is somehow able to cut out the errors, put in a blemish-free round, I think he'll give Marine Nationale his belly full on Sunday. But I'm not inclined to have a bet in it, to be honest. And Solness, look, you can't knock Solness either. He's got a great record at the track, and he's often spiked the big guns on days like this. So a race I'm very much looking forward to, not least because of what's been going on off the track in the run up to it, Rishi, but I don't think there's really an angle for me at the price.
Well, you rightly say it's added to the interest. Whatever way you look at Barry Connell's comments, it's added to it. You know, in boxing or whatever else, you get lots of trash talk, don't you? And there's no harm in it, really. It's a little bit of disrespect, yes. But it's added to the excitement and the anticipation. Let's say Marine Nationale does win and turns up at Cheltenham against some of the horses that he's dissed. It'd be quite exciting in a sense, because, you know, there'd be something to add a little bit of frisson. I like it. What about you?
Yeah, of course you do. Like a pumped up Paul Nicholls, there's nothing better than that, is there? It's like when you like all of in the cricket, you get it in every sport. Yeah. There's a bit of needle between the main protagonists, and that's exactly what you want. Arsene Wenger and Jose Mourinho back in the day. Yeah. It's brilliant to watch.
I mean, you all remember Kevin Keegan.
Yeah,
that's
the one that springs to mind. Yeah,
straight away. But that memory has lasted a lifetime because it was actually genuine. Yeah. To people who didn't really enjoy the comments and what was said, and you know the disrespect, etc. That gives an extra edge to it.
Of course it does. I think ground's going to be crucial in this. I think Marine Nationale and Solness are better on better ground. Solness especially, I really like him at Leopardstown. I was going to back him anti-post for this, and I kind of looked at the long-range weather forecast, and he was 5-1 at the time, and I kind of kicked myself for then not backing him, and now he's obviously shortened for the race. But yeah, Leopardstown's his track, but like Gary said, you'd expect Marine Nationale should probably reverse that form, but I'm not sure Leopardstown's Marine Nationale's track either. For a horse who's won 8 of his 13 starts, he's only won from 5 at the track as well. So that would be a concern for him. And I was disappointed with Margeborough at the time. He was my biggest bet over Christmas, and I thought if he was good enough, he should have gone through that gap and won the race. I thought going back left-handed would have suited him. I thought he jumped okay again.
Yeah.
And I just arguably thought he was outpaced at that point. And I thought, oh, okay, now's the time to go up and trip. But I'm kind of being lured back in with the softening of the ground. It will slow the others down. And yeah, I might have to go in one more time.
Okay. I'm going to stick with Solness. I know the ground is an issue, but hopefully it will dry out a little bit. I think after today, the worst of the weather is gone.
Yeah.
It does drain very well, Leopard Centre. There's actually standing water on the track this morning.
I've just seen a photo.
It mightn't actually be that bad if they get a few drying days.
I think the chase track's always better than the hurdles track as well. So
I was looking at Solness's form last season. I mean, he had a very busy time of things. He ran from September through to April. He ran 9 times, and obviously all competing at the highest level. He's had 3 runs in the UK. So the Cheltenham Festival run, I was looking at the 3 defeats he's had 3 runs in the UK, 3 defeats, 1 by 20 lengths, 1 by 25 lengths, and 1 by 42 lengths. Clearly doesn't like coming over here as much as you do, Gary. So I was prepared to forgive him for that. Then the run at Punchestown afterwards, where Marine Nationale wins. It was the last run of the season. Yeah. And you watch how his season went last year. He got better and better. He's had that run where he's beaten Marine Nationale, and I take into account the mistake, etc. But right at the line, he was going away from Marine Nationale again. He's a very hard horse to pass. He was given, I thought, a brilliant ride by Sam Ewing, who was having the most wonderful time of things. An aggressive ride again from Solness, I think, might get everybody in trouble at this meeting at Leopardstown in Ireland. This is Galopin des Champs, this is his track and this is his race, etc. But I would prefer to be on his side at 11-4 against Marine Nationale. So that's how I read it, the Dublin chase. So we've gone for 1, 2, 3 possibly between.
Maybe of the 3 of them, he's probably the one, would you say, most likely to run up to what he's capable of on the day?
I feel so.
In the circumstances,
know, touch wood, less jumping concerns than Margeborough. And I think at Leopardstown, last time Marine Nationale came to him, I remember Jerry's comment as well after Marine Nationale made the mistake. He actually said he hasn't lost that much ground. I mean, he did. If you look through the numbers, he did. But visually, it didn't look like it was that bad in terms of where he was and how easily he was able to get back into his position because of the time of the race. So, Solness for me. The other race we've already alluded to a couple of times is the Irish Champion Hurdle. And that's because, again, we could have a great clash. Lossiemouth, 11-10 favourite. Brighter Days Ahead, 6-4. The Amsterdam, El Fabiolo, 8s. Ballyburn, 12, 16s, bar those. Whose side are you on? And is it a 2-horse race?
If El Fabiolo doesn't run, it's probably a 2-horse race, Rishi. But if he were to be allowed to take his chance, I think he'd add a fascinating X factor to it after winning on his return at Punchestown. Get the feeling he might wait for the Red Mills Hurdle at Gowran Park instead, and maybe if he wins that impressively, then he might go on and have a crack at the Champion Hurdle. But ultra talented horse, and if he was in here, as I say, that would definitely give the race a serious shot in the arm. It's kind of difficult to have a huge amount of confidence in Amsterdam after what he did last time. He's obviously a very talented horse. Ballyburn, look, I've kind of lost a bit of faith in him at this stage. I wouldn't imagine him alone on that score. And maybe dropping him back to this sort of trip will work the oracle, but he just looked reluctant in the preliminaries last time, which is not a good sign. So look, the chances are it is a 2-horse race, and at the prices, I'd probably chance Brighter Days Ahead, to be honest, Rishi. Thought she ran a really good race at Christmas. Fair enough, she was being held at the line, but I think the makeup of this race will be slightly different. I'd imagine Jack Kennedy will try and position himself in front of Lossiemouth this time. Maybe he won't be able to, but that's kind of the picture I have in my head. And with the run under her belt, it obviously hadn't been a perfect preparation for her in the run up to Leopardstown, for all that she'd had a clear run in the month or so beforehand. With the cobwebs blown away, I think we could be in for a serious scrap here. And as I say, she's the bigger price of the two. She's the one I'd expect to come on a bit more for it. So yeah, I think I'd chance brighter days ahead maybe to deliver the goods.
And just picking up on what Gary says tactics-wise, I'm pretty certain Gordon Elliott alluded to that because it was her comeback run. They didn't want to be in their regular position, or more regular for her, to be in front, and they wanted her to finish her race off. Whereas I think he sort of suggested that when they meet again, or when they come to this race, she'd be given a slightly more, even more forward ride than she was then.
Yeah, they've got a couple in there that can make the pace. Casherdale Lad, I imagine, will be ridden on his merits this time. He did a really good job pacemaking for Tiupu in the Hatton's Grace, but I didn't think he could quite go fast enough, which is why Amsterdam obviously took off last time in the December hurdle. But King of Kingsfield's in there this time, and I imagine he'll go back to pacemaking duties for Brighter Days Ahead, that obviously worked so well in the December hurdle last year. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting because Lossiemouth stays 2.5 miles. Brighter Days Ahead, we don't quite know what her best conditions are. Yes, she won the 2.5 mile at Aintree, didn't she, in her novice season? But her best performance has come over a fast run, 2 miles. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here. I've said all along, I think Lossiemouth is a better horse at Cheltenham than what I do Leopardstown. So even if she's defeated here, the issue with that is, with regards to her champion hurdle targets, is, oh, we've been beaten here, maybe we better go for the mares. That's the issue. But yeah, I do think it's a fascinating watch, and I just think Lossiemouth is a more dependable mare than Brighter Days Ahead. If you look at how she didn't really run to form in the champion hurdle or at Punchestown last time, and Brighter Days Ahead could be very, very good, but she can also put in...
There's been the odd blowout, hasn't it?
Some blowouts, and whereas Lossiemouth, yes, she finished second to Constitution Hill one day. She was second in the Spring Juvenile, however many years ago, but that was because she got blocked behind a stablemate. But I just think that Lossiemouth is going to turn up and run her race, and I'm surprised that she's odds against. Yeah,
11 to 10. Brighter Days Ahead 6. Do you remember Brighter Days Ahead got beaten at Cheltenham the first time? And I remember, how did she get beaten by this golden ace? Well, it wasn't awful, was it? Okay, that's a look at the Irish Champion Hurdle. Anything else that you want to mention for the week ahead? So much good racing. I mean, we haven't mentioned every race at the Dublin Racing Festival. There's 2 really good days racing at Musselburgh, the Scilly Isles meeting at Sandown, where we don't know where it's going to be an all-chase card or as planned. So a little bit of variance in that preview.
Yeah, the Scilly Isles could be a good race. You've got Kit's Bull, Steel Ally, Carla Conti, Jimmy Desoy all entered. Mambo number 5 is kind of a super sub in there. Diva Luna was supposed to go there, had a slight setback. But I've been impressed with Mambo number 5. Yeah. He's 3 from 3 this season, all over fences. The horses that he's beaten have all boosted the form as well. If you go back through it, beat Highlands Legacy, Glengooley at Aintree, then beat Mighty Bandit at Newbury. He's won a couple of times since, and then obviously won the Wayward Lad at Kempton. And I thought, looking like a horse that would benefit from a step up in trip, I thought was slightly outpaced over 2 miles at Kempton that day. I think the 2.5 will be fine. I think Sandown will suit him as well. He's a good jumper. I think those railway fences will bring him into the race. If you've got the likes of Kit's Bull, if he jumps like he did at Kempton, he'll set a real task out in front. But I thought that would suit Mambo number 5 well. I think he's around 13 to 2, I think, for the race for the Scilly Isles in there. Bet365 also sponsor the card up in Scotland, the Scottish County Hurdle. I quite liked Willie the Builder. It's rare that a horse leaves Dan Skelton and improves. He's won his previous 2 starts at Kempton. I thought if he replicates that form at Musselburgh this time, I thought he looked the one to beat. The horse that I'm arguably looking forward to, one of the most in the UK over the weekend, is Manella Study. He's jocked up in the Bet365 Scottish Triumph Hurdle. The form of his win in December was obviously boosted by both Winston Jr. and One Horse Town. Nicky Henderson has a couple of interesting entries in that. Fantasy World, who was a 103 rated flat horse for Andrew Balding. And then
600 grand.
Yeah, and then Mustang de Bruel, who won his start in France, been purchased by JP. They both have entries in the Triumph Hurdle Trial and the Supreme Trial. Yes. Obviously, they'd be getting weight in that race. That looks a strong race on Sunday as well at Musselburgh. You've got Mossy Fen Road there for Harry Derham and Captain Hugo, so that's quite an interesting race in there as well. But I think Manella Study, have we got betting for the Scottish Triumph? Is he anything?
Even money.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be against that, to be honest. I thought he looked quite professional. Obviously, he had a few runs on the flat, looked professional at Cheltenham, and yeah, I thought he'd win that.
I think if he's given a forward ride, I don't think they'll get anywhere near him.
Yeah, so I thought he was probably a bet at evens or anything bigger on the day.
Okay, Gary.
Just wanted to touch on the bumper division, Rishi. We obviously at the weekend we saw Love Signed the New win really impressively at Naas. He's favourite for the Cheltenham bumper now. He looks a very exciting horse, but last couple of years you've seen the likes of Bambino Fever and A Dream to Share win here and go on to win at the Cheltenham Festival.
I hope you're going to mention the horse that I like.
I'm hopefully going to say a horse called It's Only a Game on Saturday.
Tick.
Is that the one? Yeah.
That is the one.
Trained by Martin Brazil. I thought he created a really good impression got himself out of a hole when he won at Punchestown, and the horse he beat won by a street next time up at Down Royal and was hammered
all over him, didn't he?
Absolutely, and was hammered in the market the next day. He won as well, Boystown. He looks like he's got a bit of star quality about him. Bentra Hill was very impressive first time up at Leopardstown. Willie was very complimentary about him after the race, but I'd say It's Only a Game will give him plenty to think about in that bumper on Saturday. And the Mayor's race on Sunday, good mare of Tom Cooper's Celestial Tune, who won at Cheltenham earlier on in the season. She's worth keeping an eye on as well.
Okay. I'm so pleased to hear you say that. So,
I hope we're right.
Well, he got beaten first time in his bumper
at the festival. Ran well.
Spring,
yeah.
But he had so much. He came wide on the straight, and the winner was already in front. Ran away from him. But that was really impressive.
And he was really strongly backed that day as well. He won.
Could be a classy individual. Okay, and I'm going to mention good old Affadil in the Scottish County Hurdle, which he's won before. Obviously, this is the day he won the Scottish Triumph back in the day. Ran well in the race last year, the Scottish County Hurdle. I've got Manila Study written down as well for the Scottish Triumph. And that's pretty much it for our look ahead to the weekend. Our best bets are still to come. But before we get into our best bets of the weekend, just to let you know of a free-to-play 6 horses challenge. It's available every weekend with free spins on offer if you get 2 or 3 selections correct. Prize pools available for 5 and 4 correct predictions, as well as the jackpot for all 6, and T's and C's apply. We are going to give you our best bets of the weekend now. So, Gary, being our esteemed guest, you go first.
I know you're going to improve anyway. I'm going to go for the horse you've just been talking about. It's Only a Game in the last race at Leopardstown on Saturday.
Okay, brilliant. I mean, it's a straightforward case of class, I think. There's something about the way he travels and quickens. He's got a turn of foot. So. And
it looks as though he's been kept back for this and then hopefully roll on to Cheltenham afterwards. The tried and trusted route.
Perfect. It's Only a Game for Martin Brazil in the bumper on Saturday at the Dublin Racing Festival. Steve?
I'm going for the tried and trusted route of Galopin des Champs in the Irish Gold Cup. I think he's going to be well supported. I think he'll go off odds on the day and hopefully provide another unbelievable atmosphere at Leopardstown over the weekend.
Okay, and similar tried and trusted route of Affadil running at Musselburgh on Scottish County Hurdle Day. Like I say, he won the Scottish Triumph back in the day. He's won the Scottish County before. He was placed in the race last year, and he's actually off the lowest mark. There's only one slight fly in the ointment that I was a little bit disappointed by, and obviously extremely disappointing for the rider. Olive Nichols, who obviously was aboard the Nichols winner Fazal when she was up at Musselburgh. I thought she would have ridden Affadil, but she picked up an injury at Hereford on Monday, so she would have been able to claim off his already lower mark of 119. But hopefully Paul Nichols has got a plan B in mind for Affadil, and he is the selection in the Scottish County Hurdle. Do you see what price he is? He's 4-1 with Bet365. So It's Only a Game for Gary, Galopin des Champs for Steve, and Affadil. I think I probably put Affadil up last year and the year before.
I remember watching it in the stands at Leopardstown, and yeah, he looked all over the winner.
He did look all over the winner, how he got beaten. That was heartbreaking.
My mates came back from the bar and I was just head in hands. They were like, what's happened? I was like, don't worry.
That's it. Steve, you're going to be at the Dublin Racing, aren't you?
Yeah, we're there both days. Yeah. It's now become, it's just in the diary every year. I think, about a group of 10 of us have done it for the last 5 years or so.
Yeah. No need to ask, Gary. I know you'll be there. Racing TV,
hard.
Both days.
Working hard, yeah, not enjoying myself like Steve and his pals. They're very jealous.
He'll bring you an ice cream if you ask kindly.
Ice cream weather, all right, isn't it? Yeah.
thank you both very much. I've really enjoyed this preview of the racing. Gary, thank you for coming over. Thank you for watching as well. Obviously, Racing Weekly brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. As always, if you like what you've heard or watched in this or any of our previous episodes, leave us a kind review on Apple Podcasts or in the comment section on YouTube. Always enjoy reading those, positive and negatives. We're back next week. Dan Overall's going to join us. We're going to have a look at what promises to be a really good day at Newbury. But for now, from Steve, Gary and myself and the Racing Weekly team, bye-bye.